want to do is start tracking. It's like, oh, okay, this item is making me feel safe, like my needs are met in the future. How do I make sure that I feel safe and like my needs are met in the future without this wooden spoon or without this? That's the beauty of what this activated clutter is offering us. It's this deeper healing that says, there's a way to create sustainable like strength within ourselves without needing the clutter to do it for us.
Welcome to We Ain't Normal. My name is Charmaine Fuller, and I'm an everyday mom sharing how I navigate my ADHD brain. Each week, we share tools, inspiration, and resources to help you uncover how to reclaim your time, energy, and focus. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Now on to our show. Are you looking to shut down some of the open tabs in your head? If you're a professional mom with ADHD like me, girl, I feel you. And this is why I created the Simplify My Life newsletter. The Simplify My Life newsletter shares real life tips, resources, and support to help you shut down the noise and navigate your ADHD life. Trust me, this is the one email you'll be looking forward to opening in your inbox. Join today at the link in the show notes below, and I'll see you there. What's up, ladies? Welcome back to the We Ain't Normal show. This is a part of our environment series, organizing, getting life together, because it's so fucking hard to organize stuff when you see a bunch of shiny things. This is why I brought Star on. And to me, she is a star because, I don't know about you, but I always have the best laid plans for organizing some stuff. And then I find something that I wasn't supposed to find, and I end up down this rabbit hole. Anywho, Star is the Clutter Whisperer for real, helping you to look beyond what you see to see what you don't see, so that you can totally get your shit together and stay organized, maybe if not for good, but for longer than you did the last time. Star, thank you. Oh, and her book. Yes, her book is Why in the Fuck Am I Still Not Organized? I love that title.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to be here with you. And yes, why the fuck am I still not organized? That's like, I had to name it after the number one thing people say to me when I tell them that I'm an organizer.
Oh my goodness. And I can concur. That is one of the things that I would say, like, I've been doing all the things and I don't understand why I'm still not organized.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and this is when I work with people, I work with, badass women who feel like a hot mess, who have been trying to get their clutter together for so long, and they have done everything right. And it's so hard when you're out there doing all the things that you are reading about or watching on TV, and it's just not working. And the number one thing that people say is like, oh, it must be me. I must be genetically predisposed to be cluttered, and that's never the truth, but it's so hard because that's the message we're given when we look at the world, and we're doing everything that they're telling us to do. But the problem is, depending on how your brain is wired and how you function, like 80% of those organizing books that are out there may not be written for how your brain works. So we have to start getting creative with how we create systems and solutions that work for you that may not work for what people are shouting from the top of the mountains.
Isn't that with most things, though, is that I know for me, I didn't realize until I realized that the books that are written by people who think a certain way.
Yes.
And if I think a certain way and it doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean that I'm broken. It just means that they're not my people.
Yes.
And that I need to continue to search and move on. That was one of the biggest, I know we kind of touched on like organizing myths, but that myth right there of, if I can't stay organized and there is something inherently wrong with me and I'm a F up, I'm doing it wrong, I just need to work harder. I just need to stay more focused in organizing this space. I need to just be more consistent with making sure that this stuff is done. And sometimes, if you hear, ladies, that's not even the case. Sometimes no matter how hard you work, if you don't have the right systems in place, you will just be exhausted and, mad at yourself forever.
Yeah. And, one of the greatest things that I think that we can just lean into and enjoy is the solution is buried in the problem. If I come to your house and you tell me that there's an area that you can't get organized, I know without a doubt, with 100% certainty, that the basis of the system that's going to work for you is buried in that clutter. It's either the way you're using it, something works for you, it's fulfilling some purpose. And unfortunately, the world of self-help, the world of organizing has told us if we don't do it this one cookie cutter way, we're wrong and failing. And so what we end up with is feeling like a failure. We feel like we're breaking down that trust with ourselves when the truth is that you are doing something right. Even if your house can barely be walked in, you've got clutter everywhere, you are doing something right. And my job is to help you figure out what you're doing right and build on that, because that's how we create true change. That's how we shift your entire world by reevaluating your clutter.
You said a mouthful. I'm like, when you said the solution is buried in the problem, I'm like, oh,
You felt it.
because when we see problems, what do we normally think, Star? We normally think, oh my God, the sky is falling, the world is burning, I fucked up.
Yes, it's me.
And
It's all me.
It's me.
Oh.
And the solution we often look for is outside of the problem.
Yes, I need to go shopping. I need to, clear every single inch of clutter from my house. It's got to be perfect. And it's like, no, I tell people, don't even go shopping. By the way, I just got pummeled. I did a podcast for NPR and I got pummeled because I had said, oh, the solution's buried in your clutter. Try using something you found. And people, I just like a mental note, don't read comments, because they were like, because I said, oh, use an iPhone case to, organize your drawer. How many iPhone cases does this woman have? And I'm like, I don't. Why are you being so mean to me right now? Come on, man. I'm trying to prove a bigger point. But no, it's so true. It's like we assume that the solution is so far outside of ourselves, and it's not. It's right here. What would the world look like if you weren't the problem? What would the world look like if you were actually doing it right?
Oh my gosh. That is something similar that I say to women, is that you don't need another flipping planner. Stop buying a planner. Stop it. Get index cards. You've got tons of those. Find one of those notebooks you have and plan your day. It's not the planner, it's the plan.
Yeah.
And I think because, again, how society lays it out is that now you need something else outside of you. And I've noticed this myself when I've went to organize. I've learned how not to buy anything new first until I have a clear vision of what I'm trying to do in that space. And then I see what I need.
Yes.
Right.
So
and that's
smart.
so hard to do, because the first step is I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm going to look for, organizers.
Yes.
I'm going to look for, pencil holders and things to put on the wall. And I've done that. And we know what happens. So I have a whole bunch more shit that I don't need.
Yes. The solution becomes the problem. Then it flips the script. It's like the solution is the problem.
Exactly.
Well, it makes me think of, you had Janelle Jones on a few weeks ago, and she talked about shiny object syndrome. It's this, I call it the silver bullet syndrome, right? It's like the idea that something outside of ourselves will come and save us. This will be the thing, this planner is going to change my life, man. And there's beauty in the hope of that. It's like it shows us that we're still alive and we're wanting to move forward. But, the idea of being present to ourselves and looking for the solution that already exists, just being present to what is, there is always a solution here right now without you having to spend $1, do heavy lifting, it's and really, I think that's when we can stop looking. And I think this is one of the things I love about your podcast is it speaks to, people who have ADHD who were maybe diagnosed later in life. And it's you had a lifetime of feeling like there was something wrong with you and you weren't measuring up for how the rest of the world was going. And then you get this diagnosis and you're like, oh, wait, my brain just works differently. And Unfortunately, the way that our world works is it doesn't say, oh my gosh, congratulations, you have a superpower. It says, oh, I'm so sorry, but you have a diagnosis. It's so heavy. Instead of being hey, so instead of wasting your time doing X, Y, and Z, you need to delegate and outsource those things. But what you do brilliantly is, A, B, and C. Go. It would be such a different world if we did that.
This is what I always say is, I think every kid needs an IEP, and that's an individualized education plan, because every kid learns differently. And to my other special needs mamas, I am not taking away from our babies, but what I have discovered is that every kid thinks differently, and the teachers still have to adjust things based on how certain kids learn, whether or not they have this IEP. And that's the same thing with us in life. You know, like we were saying earlier, you get this book and everybody says this is the best book on organizing, and you get it and your brain goes, what the?
Yep. Not for me. It's not. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like, I think we need, I mean, so if you look back, most of us did not experience in our childhood someone being profoundly curious about how our brain worked, about our emotional
Yeah.
experience, right? We're all just like, I mean, God bless us all. We're all just showing up, barely hanging on by a thread here. We're like, well, we made it. We did it, but this is the time where we get to start to be deeply curious about ourselves. And for those of you who are moms out there, it's like the more deeply curious you are about yourself, the easier it will be to be curious about your kids. Like,
Yeah.
we totally want to give them, yes, an individualized, path of education, but also like to really show up for where they are emotionally, because and to show up that same way for ourselves. Like I always say, the number one deterrent in getting organized is not the clutter. It's not the budget for buying the stuff or even the time. It's really the emotions that come up before we even get started, like those feelings of shame or overwhelm or fear or anxiety, and being able to manage those feelings, which is just, such an important life skill, is one of the best things you can do when it comes to getting organized.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into that, because we like to gloss over emotions. We
Mm.
like to gloss over the part that they play in the things that we do and don't do, and what part our brain and the emotional piece of it plays in getting and staying organized. What have you discovered in working with people, how handling that hurdle actually helps them to stay in that space of organization, or how it keeps them out of it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so, yeah, the emotions are for sure the number one place we want to start, because if you look at clutter, there's two different types of clutter. There's what I call practical clutter, which is just too much stuff for the amount of space you have. So like that's an easy solve, right? You're going to either get rid of stuff that doesn't fit in the space, or you're going to increase the amount of space you devote to storing that stuff. If it's a system issue, again, same thing. You just tweak the system or you give it a system, right? That's actually pretty simple. It's very left brain, very logical, like AB equals C.
Right.
Now, that's not the tough clutter. The tough clutter is the activated clutter. That's the triggering clutter. That's stuff that makes you question yourself. That's things that make you think of relatives who've passed away that you have unresolved emotional business with. That's things from your past, things from your future. This is deep emotional stuff, the stuff that you just kind of can't figure out what to do with. And every time you try to face it, you just get overwhelmed and stressed out and put it down and turn around, turn on the TV, grab a glass of wine, grab some ice cream and say, bye-bye, thank you, no thank you.
Exactly. And those are the ones that activated clutter. Knowing the difference in between the practical and activated. I think sometimes, I know I have, so I don't want to speak for everybody. But that sometimes you see them kind of as the same thing, right? Because they each have an emotional charge, but they have a different emotional charge than each other.
Yes.
And knowing what that looks like for you, and really getting in touch with your feelings. Get you a feelings wheel. Get in touch with
Yes.
the feelings and figure out, I know, like for me, for instance, going into my kitchen, like I started organizing my kitchen, and it was more of the practical clutter, right?
Yeah.
I need this. Like, I've got to have, like, what happens if I throw this away and then tomorrow I need this busted, broken down spoon?
Totally.
Like,
But it's funny, but that's also that's not practical clutter, right? And it
no,
masquerades. No, and this is what's so tricky. So two things that happens. One is that practical clutter often is, well, activated clutter can be activated, it can be acting as practical clutter, meaning like, I'm just this old broken thing in the kitchen. No worries, but you might need me someday. The you might need me someday is the way that we know it's activated, because I'm like, that's emotional, man. That's saying you're going to be in danger if you don't keep me until tomorrow. Like something bad is going to happen. And that's what we want to look out for, is like your brain is like, I know I don't need this thing, but then the emotions come up. And this is like, so I always say there's at least 9 different ways that our clutter is helping us. And we want to start figuring out what those are for you, because as long as we think that clutter is just clutter, it's just stuff and I've got to get rid of it, you're going to miss out on the beautiful journey of healing that is hiding in your clutter. And so, like, for example, that thing in the kitchen, that feeling of, I might need this tomorrow. Now that might be allowing you to feel a sense of security, right? Like holding on to that is
Right.
like, I'm going to be okay. Like a lot of people, especially after 2020, I mean, gosh, there were so many of
Yeah.
us who had the financial rug pulled out from under us. And so it's really normal. And a lot of people, maybe they traveled a lot, maybe they were in military families and they were always on the go, or maybe they just didn't, they grew up in scarcity or lack and they didn't have enough. It's really hard to kind of shift that balance and say, I'm safe without this thing. And so what we want to do is start tracking. It's like, oh, okay, this item is making me feel safe, like my needs are met in the future. How do I make sure that I feel safe and like my needs are met in the future without this wooden spoon or without this? That's the beauty of what this activated clutter is offering us. It's this deeper healing that says, there's a way to create sustainable like strength within ourselves without needing the clutter to do it for us.
Wow.
Yeah, I know we don't talk about labels and boxes very much.
So how does the realness of being overwhelmed by your stuff yet keep buying more?
Yeah.
Like, what part does that play? Because, I mean, for instance, there are a couple things I love to buy that I know, like, I should just like wait. One of them is books, and I can always rationalize why I need a new book,
Yep.
but I'm running out of space. Like, literally, I'm going to have to get a library. And the other one is kitchen gadgets. I love buying, like, I love my kitchen. So I'm like always, and half of this shit I haven't even used. Like, what?
Well, you have to ask what it's promising you. What is this object promising me? Because I think we all have a couple categories in our lives that we can't say no to. I'm the same, like crystals and books, like good luck.
Oh, God,
I mean,
let's not even talk about
I know
crystals.
you just like, I grew up in Tucson and we have the Gem and Mineral show there. And when you can get giant crystals for half off, it's uncomfortable how hard you want it. It's like, oh man. But it's, like there is something about when we collect these things, we feel that there is a promise in them, right? Like, so we feel that
Yeah.
they're offering us something. Like, is it education? Is it wisdom? Is it knowledge? Is it insight? Like, it's for me with like, I don't know, it's like figuring out the thing that you hold on to. Like, what do you perceive that kitchen stuff is going to give you? Is that symbolic? So if we look at every room symbolizes an area of our life. So if you look at like the kitchen, it's often our center of nourishment. It's where we connect with our family. It's a center of communication. So is there a part of you that's hungry for connection with community or hungry for, connection with yourself? Really starting to look at the meaning of the rooms, the meaning of the stuff, like how they're promising that they're going to fulfill a need for you. That can be a really good first step in deciding how you can live without collecting those items because you're really addressing the root cause.
Wow. I am so happy you just don't talk about putting things in boxes and tucking them away and putting labels on them, because that's never the issue. That has never been the issue for me. The issue for me has never been how well can I add something into a box and tuck it away, right?
Right.
And I think for many of us, the issue is always, like you said, that emotional piece that we rarely think of when it comes to the things that we purchase or collect. Yeah, I'm the same way with crystals. Like, don't show me nothing.
Totally. Don't go to Arizona in January then. Just don't do it.
Thanks for letting me know. Let me get a plane ticket.
You're welcome. I'll let you know the dates. We can meet up.
But the part that our brain and our mindset play in and then the piece you're saying about what organization looks like for you. So I'm loving that you are not providing this cookie cutter approach to step 1, get some labels. Step 2, get a box. Step 3, buy a shelf. Step 4, put everything on there. Boom, you're organized. You are taking women into this space of really tapping in, with each room having basically its own character or personality, so that you can know what is it that you're looking for out of that room.
Yes. Yeah.
That is deep.
Yeah. I know it's funny, but I just don't know how to look at it any other way. I mean, when I started doing this, it's like this veil lifted from my eyes and I was like, wow, people are doing all kinds of things through their stuff and their spaces. And And it's really cool because as overwhelming as it can be to kind of say, like, what is my clutter doing for me? It's also like really awakening and empowering. Like I just taught a class this afternoon I have a membership, and we're teaching a class, and somebody in the class was saying, oh, I'm having a really difficult time, like trying to decide what I'm going to sell, and why am I wasting this time on this object? And I said, because you're trying to assert your own value through making sure that the things that you've been holding on to for decades are valuable. And she was like, oh, like it was like pin drop moment. And that's what we want to start figuring this stuff out, because if you don't figure it out with clutter, you're going to transfer it to other areas of your life. So it's not even just about the clutter. It's also about how do you shift your entire life by rethinking how you engage with your clutter.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So if you all haven't pulled up, like if you haven't been catching the gems that Star has been dropping, this entire piece of really becoming present and gaining clarity over what something is offering you, and not just, I want to buy it. Okay. I think that helps me to stop overbuying too. When I've started to ask myself questions about certain things, like, but who said the spoon is busted? Like, is the spoon really busted, or did you just see a new spoon
That you like
at
better.
Williams, right, at Williams and Sonoma that you just like? Is it the same purpose? Like, so
Yes.
sometimes I know for me, because I love to accumulate kitchen stuff, I've had to learn how to ask myself a series of questions to see, is it really busted, or is it just that it's not new and shiny like it was last year and I want a new and shiny one? And now, even with what you just said, to go deeper, okay, so if my purpose is to have, or my thing is to have a new and shiny kitchen, like where everything looks really pretty and aesthetically like cute, then are there ways I can take care of what I have to last longer? Are there places that I can put it to make sure it doesn't rust, or that it's still, what are things that I can do? Or if it's something, if I really do need new and shiny, then me thinking about a budget for that, right? So it really takes you down this, it takes me down another path into thinking about the purchase of things.
Yeah, the mindful living, right? Like I think
Right.
our consumerist driven society just says, buy this, it'll make you happy. Buy this, it'll make you feel better. Buy this.
It don't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, and oh, now I just have to deal with all this excess crap that I have. And it's really overwhelming. And so, yeah, I think you're right. It's like, it brings to mind, something I say a lot. It's, we can't do and plan at the same time. And the problem is we go to organize and we just assume that that means I'm going to throw away anything I don't want and I'm going to put things back in a pretty box. And what we really need to do is start to be strategic. Like, okay, with you in your kitchen, why is it so important that the kitchen feels so shiny? Like on a really deep level, is it because, like, what does that room symbolize to you? Like, what would having a super shiny, beautiful kitchen make you feel like you could have in your life?
You know what? Partially, absolutely nothing. I've watched way too much Food Network, and I have been inundated with the beautiful, shiny kitchen that only gets used on TV. Part of it is that. Part of it is, growing up, I did not have a beautiful, shiny kitchen. And I always wanted for things to just be like, I've always wanted the magazine style kitchen, because I thought it would bring me a certain feeling, which it actually doesn't. Not for long, right?
Yeah.
It's not the long lasting feeling that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I've had to get really, really honest and disciplined with myself as far as buying kitchen things.
I'm so sorry. I love everything
No,
you're
go for it.
saying, Charmaine. Like, it's so crazy. We have this idea, right? Given everybody, all of us have these circumstances in our lives that we like, and a lot of times our contrast is what births these deep desires that we have, right? You not having that kitchen as a child, you were like, if I have this, then I will feel this way. And I
Right.
think there's nothing more haunting than getting the thing we've been dreaming about and realizing it did not solve the problem. Like, you guys, I once got engaged and I stood in my bathroom the next day hyperventilating because I was like, it didn't change anything. Like, it's like this, my poor fiance was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. Like, I'm not. I'm sorry. You didn't fix the hole inside of me that I have. You didn't do your job, sir. So it's so difficult because that's the real life. Like when you just said, I have to be really honest. It's like yes, it is so brave and courageous to go for what you want, achieve it, and realize I am still wanting. And most of the clients that I work with, like most people that I deal with, are midlifers, and they're like, wow, I have the career and the family and the house, and I'm still not happy. What is going on? And that's where we start. That's like one of the best places to start that we can come up with.
It's called a pyrrhic, basically pyrrhic victory, where the win doesn't justify basically all that you went through. I call it eating an orange that looks like an orange, but when you bite it, it tastes like water. Like, it's really pretty on the outside.
Ooh, that's good.
It's orange and it looks juicy. And then when you start to peel it, like the juices start flowing, you're like, yes, this is going to be good. And you bite it and that bitch tastes like water. And you like, what? I want my money back.
Treacherous, totally.
Right. It's too late because you've already eaten it. One of the things you said, I want to go back to really quick. I'm like, oh my goodness. We cannot do and plan at the same time. What?
Yes, I know. It's well, and it's like it takes so much energy to start organizing, doesn't it? It's like, okay, I got over my emotional hurdles. I have the time, I have the energy. Nobody's home and bugging me, so I'm going to do it now. And then it's like, oh wait, and then you just want to you want to take action, but a lot of times we actually need to plan. Like, you need to think about, where am I taking things that I'm going to donate? Like, I can't tell you how many people don't take things out of their house because they have no idea where to take them, or because they have too many people that they perceive that they need to give them to. Like, oh, this goes to Jody and that goes to, like Zoe, and that goes to, it's like, stop. But taking the time to really plan. And so when I work with people on organizing a space, I always say the first thing we have to do is set an intention. You have to know what done is for you. Like, what does success look like? And so I always say, ask yourself these 3 questions. What do you want to do in the space? And I try to limit people to 3 to 5 things only, because we'll get really excited and do like 45. So between 3 and 5 things you want to do in the space, how you want that space to look, and how you want that space to feel for you, or what you want to experience when you're in there if you're not a feelings person. But those 3 questions tell us when we're done. It tells us what we keep, what we get rid of, how we navigate it, and that makes such a difference. So if we take the time to plan, it makes everything that comes after that planning session so much easier.
I find that not only does it make it, I guess, easier and less overwhelming, is the same thing, because now versus you going in, and I've done this with the kitchen. I'm going to bring them back to the kitchen. I am going to reorganize my kitchen because I don't like where this stuff is. And then before you know it, I have dug everything out of the cabinets. We're eating pizza because now I'm reorganizing the kitchen. And after about 5 hours, my eyes are bloodshot. My brain is hurting because I haven't moved out the kitchen. And then I end up putting everything back where it was.
Because you're like, I can't finish this insane project I started. Totally. Well, this is so okay. So you are naming such beautiful examples, Charmaine. Like, it's just so lovely to talk to you. Like, so okay, so oftentimes when we go to organize, again, superhuman effort to get started. We've been thinking about it. We want to do it. We got this history of not going well. It's a lot. And then we go and we don't start small. We're like, I'm going to do the whole kitchen. The one with 8,000 things in that one drawer. I'm going to do the entire garage. You know what? I'm going to do every piece of clothing I've ever bought or looked at. It's like, we just are like, I'm going to do it all in 4 hours or less. I can definitely do it in 3.5. So it's like, we have to kind of like start small. I always say to people, so I have 10 steps. So for people, most people were not taught how to get organized. So I teach them how to get organized through these 10 steps, and your listeners can get it if they go to organizingiseasy.com. And it basically just walks you through. And so it's like, when you go and you learn how to organize, what you want to do is, once you kind of know ABC, here's how you organize, you want to practice on as small of a thing as possible. Something that's going to take you 20 minutes, your purse, your junk drawer, the nightstand surface, like something really, really easy. And once you do 3, 4, 5 20-minute projects, then start doing an hour project, then to 2 or 3 hour projects. And yet we somehow decide, we're like, I'll do everything all at once, even though I was really never taught the skills, and it's overwhelming, and I only have 2 hours and dinner's coming, right? So it's like talking about the planning, and it's like, we want to think of organizing as like, it's like a part fitness regime, right? Where it's like, okay, I got to
Right.
strengthen that muscle. I need to learn the skills and then strengthen the muscle. And then slowly but surely I will be able to like bench press organizing my entire kitchen. But right now I'm just working on one curl. And so that's where we want to start with organizing, is like really just be gentle with ourselves and be really open and curious and simple, and do things that you can complete, because especially, and I will say this, especially with the ADHD brain, it is hard when you do not have completion as like a high value, right? You've got to think, a lot of people who have ADHD, it's like time is not real. It's some future thing that doesn't exist. It's like, so completion is something that is so healthy. It gives you that dopamine hit, makes you feel good and strong about yourself, capable, powerful, keeps you moving forward.
Yeah.
But when we do these huge projects, it doesn't give us that hit. It doesn't give us that ability to start trusting ourselves again. And it's one of the best things you can do is just start small.
That piece there of feeling like a perpetual failure. Like, why should I even try to organize? Every time I try to organize, I never finish it. I end up putting stuff back where it was. So why even try?
Yes.
But then your brain is like, but let's get organized. Let's try it. Like, and then you keep setting yourself up for failure. Like, I know that
Yes.
from experience, is you keep setting yourself up for failure. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't do it. I can never do it. Like, I'm broken.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you've been giving yourself really unrealistic. I really talk to women, to set these realistic goals. You have all of these self-help people. They're like, set unrealistic goals. It's like, that does not work for us. Unrealistic. It leaves us in analysis paralysis and feeling like we're always failing.
Yes. And what we need is wins. What we need is like, I want you to start small. I want you to start with something that you can win 100%. Because the truth is, if you can't do a 20-minute project quickly, it's not a failure. We just need to look at what's really going on under the surface and give you the support that you need. Again, 80% of the solutions out there aren't built for you. And so it's like, okay, great. What works for me? And the brilliance is, so you know what works for you. Every single human, you know what works for you already. If I come in and start poking around, I'm going to find it. And we just have to stop comparing ourselves to the outside world or how other people do things, and instead really look at like building on what we know works for us and doing it in small ways that make us feel powerful and not overwhelmed.
I've had to learn how to, specifically with, the remodel stuff we're doing and some of the other things, I couldn't go looking in the magazines. Like that was not my anointing. I just really had to get still and go, what is it that this bathroom needs? What is the functionality I'm looking for? And then I started going off and looking for things that fit what I was looking for. But when I started with, what type of shower do I want? And it got really overwhelming. Okay, so do I get the fixture that lights up, or do I get which one you get into this analysis paralysis thing, like so super quick.
Oh, hugely, hugely. And it's, so you have to kind of imagine, and I'm the same, because I get overwhelmed. If you say, Star, what do you want for dinner? I will literally have a meltdown. I'll be like, I cannot compute this question. Like, it's too much. I'm like, you just asked me infinity. Hey, Star, choose from infinity. And I will literally have a minor meltdown. It's really fun to watch.
Give me options.
Exactly. Give me 3. Like, I just need to know what's our ballpark that we're operating in. Like, okay. And it's the same thing with what you're describing. It gets so overwhelming. And what's beautiful is when you take the time and really go within, instead of, sometimes we need external. Like I tell people, if you're revamping your wardrobe, sometimes you want to happen around on Pinterest for a bit and see what inspires you. You can look for inspiration, but really, again, sourcing from within, the idea that every solution is inside of you. You don't need someone else to tell you what you like. You know what you like, and if you don't know what you like, just start looking around at magazines or, Pinterest or whatever you want, and you'll find it really quick. But look at it through the lens of what do I prefer? What's enjoyable for me, instead of what should I be doing? What is the rest of the world doing? How do I keep up with that?
Yeah, that is the debacle that I was in with the kitchen.
It's a lot. Renovations take so many, there's just so many decisions and so many, it's like a wedding, you don't even know that you care or
until you're offered the option.
It's like, well, do you want the dusty rose parfait, or would you like the lavender soaked honey? And it's like, well, I don't know. What do I? It's like
what's the difference? Tell me.
Is it going to change my life? Is it going to make my marriage go well? Yes, tell me. It's like a whole other
Give it to
world.
me.
Exactly. And I think it's like, yeah, sometimes having less options is better for us. It's like, again, I was talking to someone today that was like, I don't know where to take these donations. Well, you give yourself less options. Just pick one place. If you are having a hard time deciding, you getting those items out of your home is more important than them finding the perfect home. And so, like, making that decision of, okay, great, I'm just going to choose this one place. It's around the corner from my house. It's convenient to get to, and that's where it's going to go. Or with you with the kitchen, it's like, okay, great. I know I want tile. I know that I want like this type of tile. Show me 3 options. I'm going to pick from those 3 because I'm not going to make myself crazy doing this for 6 months.
Exactly. Yeah, with giving away like clothes and stuff, a lot of the times I like for clothes, I will recycle. So there's like this service where you can put all your clothes in the bag and they recycle the clothes, because I know that I am not driving to anybody's secondhand store to drop these off. Like if I can't think of, like, you have to know your strength too. Like I already know I'm not going to try to think of somebody to give it to. Right.
Totally.
So I just send it to the recycle. Knowing your strengths with that. Like if you've had stuff in the basement for like more than 6 months that you said you were driving to the Goodwill and you still haven't, put it out, especially electronic stuff. If you put it out on your trash heap, trust me, there is somebody that will pick it up because they will be able to recycle, or they know what parts to pull out to get the money from it. Don't let that be your crutch
Yes.
of keeping
It's
it
so
there.
true. It's so true. Well, and it's like just moving it out, like just taking the time to saying like, okay, great. It's not my job to make sure micromanage the rest of its life. I'm going to trust the universe and send this on to its next chapter.
Yeah. Not feeling bad about not putting it in the perfect place. But this whole thing, right? And ladies, if you haven't picked this up, I'm going to give you Cliff Notes real quick. Get clear. I mean, she gave a 3-point step on how to get clear, because you cannot do and plan at the same time. Like we've already talked about that. You cannot do and plan at the same time. You know it. I know it. You can't do and plan. So first you got to
Can
get
we
clear.
say too, can I just, because I know what people are probably thinking, and I don't have time for that. I barely have time to, right? This is,
Oh my God. Dig into that
so
one.
you don't have time not to plan. Like if you are struggling with your
Nope.
time, you need that time. Like I work with CEOs who get hundreds of emails a day, right? And I'm like, you need to take 20 minutes every day to decide where you are spending your energy and time. Because if not, you are going to be the firefighter of the day. You are going to just go where someone else is pushing you, and your energy, your time, your resources are so much more valuable than that. Like take the time, because you are worthy. No one else for the rest of the day may listen to you. You may get cut off. You may be bombarded. You may have a million people telling you what they need from you. But for that 20 minutes, you get to listen to you, and you get to say, this is what I'm giving myself to today. And this is what I'm giving to myself today. So that way you can really set yourself up for success instead of just being, a pawn in somebody else's game for the day.
That's what I always tell my son. I said, if you don't plan for you, somebody else will plan for you. And trust me, their plan for you will rarely be what you want.
And it won't be for you, and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, God bless us, but humans are selfish creatures. We're focused on what we need to get done. And so if you are being open to not the universe, but if you're just like, oh, whatever people tell me to do, you're probably going to be acting in their best interest. And that's fine. And I love service. I'm all about service. And also, you deserve to reclaim time, power, energy for you, and spend at least a chunk of your day doing for you. And I don't care how busy you are. If you are so busy that you barely have time to, brush your teeth at night, spend the time that you brush your teeth at night saying nice things to yourself. You did a good job today. I'm so proud of the way that you hustled, or, way to go, or just spend it breathing, doing some deep breathing while you're brushing your teeth through your nose. It's like, how can you give to yourself even in some small way, because you deserve to be showered with love and attention and praise just because you exist.
Yes, exactly. Then you said to start small, right? Like not just letting it all, like trying to do it all in one day, starting small, and then trusting yourself kind of goes into with getting clear. Because in that space of getting clear, you're learning how to trust your own voice and trusting what you want, and the still voice that comes up and says, girl, you do not want green plates. You want blue plates. And just because your family likes green plates, that's not your business. They won't. They'll eat off of anything.
And one of the things I'm thinking about your kitchen, it's like, So when we grow up with this idea of how things are going to be when we achieve that thing, like my question is, how can we live that right now? Like, so like
Yeah.
if whatever that version of, a kitchen was it entertaining? Was it family? Was it fancy? Was it beautiful? Was it like whatever it was? How can you recreate that even like once a week or once a month? Like, how do we give ourselves, like, there's so many people who are waiting to live the life of their dreams until they're done with something, done organizing, lost weight, like,
Right.
and it's like, well, whatever you think you're going to get at the end of that rainbow, give it to yourself right now. Stop waiting. And what will happen is when you give yourself that thing that you want, like if for you it's the kitchen, if it's like connection, can you have a dinner party and have 10 people over to do game night or whatever it brings you joy? And maybe that scratches the itch, and then you don't need to buy, you know, yeah,
New stuff.
exactly. Because you're like, oh, because there is something that Shiny Kitchen tells you that you will have, right? Is it like a healthy lifestyle? Is it, it's like whatever it is. And we want to like be really, we want to be really vulnerable with ourselves. Like, you don't have to tell me, but to take the time and say like, wow, like I really always thought like with me with partnership, because I used the fiance example, I always just really thought that I'd feel a deep sense of belonging if I was in a relationship like that. And I wasn't, and I didn't get that sense. And it wasn't their fault. It wasn't his fault.
Right.
It's because that's a wound that I have to operate with for the rest of my life. There will always be a part of me that wonders how and where I belong. And when I consciously know that that's a partner in my life, that that's like a wound that I'm going to be walking with for my entire life, I manage it differently than if I assume there's a way to make it go away, or if I push it down and pretend like it doesn't exist. So taking the time to really listen to what that calling is asking us to, understand about ourselves is one of the best things we can do for our clutter and for our entire lives.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, Star. This was so juicy and so I love that it was so beyond what I'm sure the people listening thought we were going to go. I'm sure this is not where they thought we were going to go at all. And I love episodes like this where they like, wait, she not telling me what organizers. Wait, hold on. What color code should I use? This is not that episode.
I mean, really, it's like I love this deeper dig because look, if boxes and labels and bins could get us organized, we would have been organized 20 years ago. Like the organizing industry, you have to kind of wonder, the organizing industry is huge. It's multiple billions of dollars and it's growing by the year. So all the solutions in the world aren't solving our problems. So we need to look at things from a different angle if we really want to solve this clutter issue once and for all.
Exactly. Exactly. Star, where can they find you in these social
Yes,
media
so I am
streets?
everywhere. I'm all the places, but I would love to gift your listeners a few little gifts so they can get a free copy of my book if they go to starhansen.com/podcast. They can go on there, they can get a free copy of my book, and they can also take a quiz that I've created to let them know the monster hiding in their closet that's keeping them disorganized. So if you go to starhansen.com/podcast, you can get those. And I just, because I know it's a little intense to start this journey. Like it's very vulnerable to start this journey. So I like to give people like a way to put their toe in the water without having to dive all the way in.
Exactly. And also, all of her information will be on her speakers page. So all you'll have to do is click the handy dandy link to grab all of her goodies that she's gifting for us today, as well as to connect with her on social media, which her social media is absolutely fabulous in taking these principles and helping you to, implement them into your life. And even, if it leads you to work with her, which I really do think if organizing is not your jam and you keep failing, you need to work with somebody. I am not your person for that. Did you just hear my testimonial?
Well, and I
Um,
will say one of the things that I did in the last couple of years, actually the end of 2019, is I started an organizing community online because I was like, I created my first digital class and I was like, yeah, but people need support all the time. Like it's not a one or done.
yeah,
I can't teach you something and then expect you to live it. And especially for my neurospicy babies, it's like it's so important, like because body doubling is so hugely important when you're neurodivergent.
yeah,
You want that accountability, that support. And so I created an entire membership that's, entry level cost where you don't have to spend a ton of money and you can get support. And, it's like my job is to throw as many resources at you as possible, let you take what you need and leave the rest.
exactly. Exactly. So you'll be able to find all of her goodies on her speaker info page. Definitely connect with her as this year is wrapping up quickly. You know, you definitely want to get on this before January 1st when you are in that space of, oh my God, I'm going to fix everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
heard. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, especially because, it's funny. I always say I find New Year's to be such a strange time to goal set because it's like the dead of
Yeah.
winter when the whole universe is like, go to sleep, like hibernate, be still. And we're like, let's get aggressive. And I'm like a spring equinox kind of goal setter myself. So I'm like, yeah, like no need to hustle when you're around family and really enjoying time together. And like it's really about kind of going cozy and internal. So like for sure, I don't
Right.
want you, if I can just make a plug, no need to set a high New Year's resolution for I've got to get organized. Like what if you just invite organization into your life in a gentle, soft, and loving way instead of having it be this like bulldozer of a goal every year?
Yeah. Yeah. I set goals New Year because my birthday is
Oh,
New
happy
Year.
birthday, New Year,
So,
baby. You poor thing. You don't get a birthday. Well, you get, well, the
well,
whole world celebrates for you.
my birthday is actually, yeah, my birthday is actually the second, but at that time of year, it's like everybody else is like, I'm not setting no goals. I'm like, I
It's
am.
my
I'm really excited.
I,
Let's
honestly,
go.
I would too if that was my birthday. I totally would too. Mine's in October, so I'm like, it's not like I don't know. We're pre-game in Halloween at that point. I can't get on board for goaling, but
Yeah.
I would also. I'm totally with you on that.
But I find like spring, early summer for like, I have some summer folk in my house, and that's when they choose to, like not choose, but that's when they are best suited for it. Like my husband's a summer baby, and I don't talk family. We don't make family financial goals. We meet in the middle at
Yeah.
springtime. So around second quarter, we meet in the middle, and that's how we knock it
Yeah,
out.
and it's
Yeah.
funny. I love you so many good things from you, Charmaine. I tell you, but like it's like we have to listen to our flow again. If the idea that like what the rest of the world is doing may not work for you, like that's okay. Like you have to like you are a January baby. You want to set your goals there because that's when your energy is like that's when you come up like it's like your rebirth every year. Like, and for like
Yeah.
your hubby, he's like, no, summer's my rebirth, and really listening to our energy flows and our energy cycles of okay, great. What feels good to me and knowing that like you're not wrong. Everybody, we're all right. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Driving further home the point of you going, you got to figure out what works
Yes.
out for you. And it works for you. Stop believing, even with some of the books you read, you take what you take, and then the rest of it, you leave it in the book. Like I've learned how not to read an entire book. I look for the chapter I need and I keep it popping.
Yes, sorry, the loudest thunder crash in the world. Yes, totally. And I will say also, don't be afraid to walk away from a book that's not serving you. I cannot tell you how many crappy
Exactly.
movies I've sat through and thought I will never get those 2 hours back. And I should have just turned off the dang TV. Like, same thing with the book. If you're not vibing it, like there's certain like I remember I got these like 4 books from the library and I was so excited. And the minute I opened one, I was like, this material is so icky feeling and I have no desire to read it. I read 20 pages, closed the book, took it back. I was like, done. So don't be afraid to not finish something. It is okay to say no thank you and walk away from it like and purge just in
Yes.
that moment.
Yes, yes, and yes. Well, thank you so much, Star, for hanging out with us
Oh, thank you.
today. This was
I had such a great time with
fabulous.
you, Charmaine. This was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Don't forget, if you want to connect with Star, to go ahead to her speakers page, hit her up with those links, follow her on social media. And until next episode, remember to stay weird. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it freed you to see your life a bit differently. Make sure to check out those show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's episode with all the important links and resources. If you want weekly exclusive episodes with me personally, make sure to sign up for my Simplify My Life newsletter. I'd love to know what you enjoyed about this episode, so leave a review to let me know how I can continue to support you. So, Mama, I want you to know you're doing much better than you think. You're further than you believe, and you're worthy to have it all. So until next time, stay weird and keep doing you, babe. Coming up next time on the We Ain't Normal show.
Like, what am I subscribing to that when I look at that picture, I can't see the joy and the beauty in it, but that my first thought goes to something lacking in me or something that I wasn't doing or something that I was missing, right? So, and in doing so and in sitting with that reflection, I started to see that, wow, there's a lot of subconscious stuff that I'm subscribing to, that I'm holding on to about what it means to parent well or to mother well.
Until next time, I want you to stay weird, and we will catch you on the next episode of the We Ain't Normal show. Want more of this episode? Make sure your podcast notifications are on and you're a part of the We Ain't Normal family by going to thecharmedlife.show to get weekly podcast updates and notifications. I'll see you there.